Since I can't stop dying to cheaters, today we're gonna spend 10 minutes looking at completely useless things in Tarkov. But before I get started with telling you absolutely useless information that is not gonna help your 20% survival rate in Tarkov, I'd like to clarify that I'm not the first one to do this. I got inspiration from In Control again, who did this exact video format, but for GTA 5. There's also a couple Tarkov creators who've done this previously, but those videos are like 3 to 4 years old, and with the addition of maps like Ground Zero, Streets of Tarkov, the Factory expansion, and Lighthouse, I decided to do one for myself. So without wasting any more of your precious time, let's go ahead and get into wasting your time. You can find advertisements for various real-life brands. This one is obviously Subway, but instead the name is Underway. It does actually have a store, which you can find in Interchange, as well as McDaniels for McDonald's and for KFC. The various maps around Ground Zero actually show you your current location on the map. Inside the Terror Group parking garage, you can find a CCTV camera that is pointed directly into the wall. In this popular task room on the second floor of the Terror Group building, the monitors have their Windows taskbar on the top of the screen. Luckily, the monitor is actually powered by a DVI cable that isn't plugged in. In the Tower Bank building, there's a screen that displays two companies in the stock market, one being TKB and the other one being BSG, with BSG currently outperforming TKB by 1.27%. Most stores in Tarkov do actually have a menu, this is just one of them being Coffee Jam. As you can see, there's a list of different items you can get. I don't know the translation for them, but they're all around $1. In Capital Insight, there's an image on the wall of rings. We can put this into reverse Google image search and find it online. Back at the Terror Group building, there's a room with an interior that doesn't have a door to it. In Interchange, we can find the actual stores of those advertisements we saw in Ground Zero, being McDaniels and Also Underway is here, and Burger Spot, which is obviously Burger King. Some of these stores actually have interiors that are themed after their real-life counterpart. The most obvious one is IDEA. This takes up a huge amount of the Interchange Mall and is obviously IKEA. There's even an IDEA restaurant, just like IKEA has in real life. This wooden chair looks extremely uncomfortable. These yoga mats have straws in them. In this bookstore, we can find a book called Unity for Absolute Beginners. Unity is a game engine and is currently what Tarkov is running on. Maybe they should read this book so they can learn how to optimize the game. In Rasmussen, we can find the TP4, or the Teleportation 4, also known as the PlayStation 4. There's also a G-Phone XX on the wall. This is obviously taking inspiration from the iPhone, but the phone itself looks like a Samsung J7. This pizza costs $11.46 at current exchange rates. The burgers from Burger Spot are freshly grilled and you should taste it. In the Hideout, you can find a Unity for Absolute Beginners book, 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 and a Unity for Absolute Beginners book. This is a BMW i8 spotted in a local car park. Here is Call of Call, a knockoff Call of Duty. I wish you could play it. And there's also this game, Bliatman. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but it's also Leg Meta Edition. This fire in this furnace looking thing actually looks pretty cool. The temperature of the fridge and the freezer is set correctly. Alongside the Unity for Absolute Beginners, there's also this book called All My Friends Are Still Dead. It's a children's book that is apparently pretty creepy as all it talks about is death. I don't know about you, but this fork looks a little bit too bent compared to my forks. This calendar says that the current date is 2014, but a calendar right next to it says it's currently 2016. This laptop has a Tarbank website open on it. Sadly, it's not high-res enough that you can't read anything on it. The cultist room has that weird eye thing on the wall, which always reminds me of the Mount Chiliad mystery eye thing from GTA 5. Here is another Unity for Absolute Beginners book. This clock is definitely not turning. There's a beta container under your intelligence center. These water bottles do not fit in their squares. The new factory expansion is actually so boring that I couldn't find anything unique to share. But this is what factory looks like from really high up. And here's a book on how to teach quantum physics to your dog. This time lapse shows me looking through factory, looking for something interesting, but unable to find anything. The I and the double L of the word killer here is painted onto some pipes. Those pipes go up and into the wall, which ends up going into absolutely nothing. This is a coffee machine in labs. This is a monitor in the server room of labs. Sadly, the resolution is too low that we can't make out anything. Similar to Ground Zero, the maps in labs actually show you where you are on the map. These hand dryers are made by Dyson with a Z. I'm guessing this is a brand Dyson from real life, but maybe I'm wrong. I put this image of this man into reverse Google image search, but literally nothing came out. It literally just broke Google. There is some info about him here though if you wanted to pause it and read it. It seems like he's either some sort of patient that they are doing experiments on, or he works here. The yellow smoke inside this room is not actually yellow smoke, the glass is just tinted yellow. If you know chemistry, you might understand what you're looking at. I definitely don't. If you understand whatever the hell this is, you probably earn a lot of money. Here is a Unity for Absolute Beginners book. Parrot. This screen is being projected by a projector that is floating. This drink machine has Fanta, Pepsi, Coke, and what looks like Sprite, but in all different Tarkov versions. Here is a Joker-Jola machine. You know what that is, I don't need to explain it. Looking closer we can see Sepsi and Strite. The elevators in the reception are the same elevators as the ones for the main extract, though one of them don't line up. The elevator's buttons at the wooden stairs in the parking garage are inverted. Apparently the Tetris has 9,999 games in one, though it doesn't seem like you'd be able to play anything else on this but Tetris. This is me loading into Streets of Tarkov. In Streets of Tarkov, there's a shop called Tommy Hilfiger, and this is a ripoff of the clothing brand Tommy Hilfiger. I want you to personally put this in my mouth right now. I can't believe I forgot to mention this in Interchange, but this is the Adidas store. This is obviously Adidas. Adidas, 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 Adidas. What? The Pinewood Hotel is a 4-star hotel. This room is just crazy. I mean, do I really have to explain what is going on? I'm not gonna explain it, but you can see, I mean, yeah, that's kinda crazy. Here are a bunch of floors that have absolutely nothing inside them, inside the Pinewood Hotel. A can of Tarcola has 29 grams of sugar. Here is a Unity for Absolute Beginners book, not in a bookshelf, but inside a suitcase. The brand on this satellite dish is Tarkov TB. Here is a random building way outside the map of Streets of Tarkov itself. I just think it looks cool. Inside the Concordia building, there's a children's playground, and I'm pretty sure that this bird here is inspired by an Angry Bird. The poop hole on this toilet, or whatever the hell it's called, is so far pushed forward, I don't think my aim is good enough to hit that. Lexos is a car dealership. There's a spotlight inside Lexos in which you can see the light source from any angle. Apparently Tarkov also have their own logistics service called Tarkov Logistics. Here's a Battlestar Pants poster, obviously taking inspiration from GTA 5. This screaming chicken is about to go down a slide in a pram. This ladder just doesn't make sense, like how you meant to get on it from the bottom. Here's some advertisements for some items in game, this being the Alyonka and Hot Rod, this being those cans of food, this being the Tarcola, and then we have the juices. And here is a room of mannequins staring at you, with a mannequin facing the ground and a bunch of knives in its back. In Lighthouse, there's a dead floating scav. Here's a cargo ship way off the coast of Lighthouse. This is really far away, so obviously no one's gonna see this and no one's gonna see any of the details of it, but it's here. There's also this other tugboat. This one looks a little better. The mountains far in the distance of Lighthouse are actually just 2D pictures. There's also a picture of some buildings out here. Here's a low poly white bridge, and yes, all of this is still in the map Lighthouse. We're just extremely far away from the actual map, but I don't think anyone's ever gonna notice this playing a normal raid. There's also some buildings out here. These look absolutely terrible. This boat on the Lightkeeper Island actually has a pretty nice interior. Flying up to the plane that drops airdrops, we can see that they are supplied by the United Nations. This is what Lighthouse from really high up looks like, and this is me falling back down. Following the tracks of the train extract, we can find it ending at some mysterious floating lights. And for a final bit of useless information before we hit 10 minutes in approximately 6 seconds, here's what happens to your hands after 5 minutes of falling under the map.